So here's a picture of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes finished his story back at WrestleMania 40, winning his first ever WWE Championship against Roman Reigns, becoming a WWE Champion. So I also present you a picture of Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. They both completed their revenge on Rhea Ripley, Mommy, by sealing a kiss on each other and completing their revenge and establishing their relationship with one another. Now, why exactly am I telling you this? Why exactly am I telling you about finishing the story when it comes to these two unrelated things? Well, let me tell you why. Because I present you a picture of San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, who has not finished the story, who has gone to the Super Bowl twice in the span of 5 years, and has faced this particular team that we're going to be playing this coming Sunday in a rematch of a game that we played in, February. And we had an opportunity to finish the story and finally get a particular title that we've have not gotten to in over 30 years, and yet this man couldn't do it. He could not get it done yet again. And we're going to get a visual reminder yet again of why we could not finish the story. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are once again to play the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champion, the two-time Super Bowl champion, back-to-back Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs, in a rematch of Super Bowl 58. And I guess you want to go back 5 years earlier, Super Bowl 54. Two of the three Super Bowl titles came at the expense of us in regards to the Kansas City Chiefs. And it honestly does not feel good. It still doesn't feel good to this day. But nonetheless, here we are, week 7. And it's, another one of those matchups between the Niners and the Chiefs. And some people like to say, oh, it's a revenge game. It's a revenge game for the 49ers. They're trying to get some redemption from back in February, back in the Super Bowl, where they had an opportunity to win that game. But like I said, they didn't. Well, let's be honest here, folks. Let's be honest with ourselves. And I mean, some kudos to the Niners. They're not thinking about revenge. Like it's the Liv Morgan revenge tour and all that. No. Honestly, they shouldn't be thinking about that game, because apparently to Kyle Shanahan, it caused a lot of PTSD. It caused a lot of trauma to him and to the rest of the team. I mean, in fairness, losing the Super Bowl in that kind of fashion, yeah, I guess to some degree it should. But when you don't finish the story, like you're Cody Rhodes or you're like Daddy Dominic betraying Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam, or you're Liv Morgan and winning the Women's World Championship, then you should have finished the story back in February. See, I'm getting my months mixed. When you should have. You should have finished the story when you could have. But you didn't. And here you are, contemplating about this rematch, and you're sitting in a position now where you're pretty much beat up, and you're 3-3 when honestly you should have had 2 games that you should have won. And well, it's kind of in the same position. It's kind of in the same position that they were 2 years ago. They were 3-3. They're heading into this matchup with the Chiefs. Also 3-3. They're also kind of beat up now, and they also started 1-2. They also started 1-2. Kind of poetic, if you ask me. Now, does it assure that they will, that the same result? I don't know, but that remains to be seen. So, I mean, hopefully it's the opposite this time around, but you never know with this team. So, before we get into the glitz and glamour with being the injury reports and my keys to victory, let's take a look back at the week that was for both of these teams. Starting with the Kansas City Chiefs, they were actually on a bye this past week in week 6. So, we're actually going to go 2 weeks back for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, last time we saw them in action, the Chiefs were facing the New Orleans Saints at home. Mahomes actually had a quiet game, but he was the benefactor in getting Juju Smith-Schuster involved, Kareem Hunt involved, In the passing and the rushing game, Kareem Hunt went for over 100 yards rushing. Juice-Schuster was the beneficiary. Mahomes, had a 100-yard receiving game. So, yeah, not exactly the best game for Mahomes in that offense, but they did enough to beat the New Orleans Saints in a kind of, the score says blowout, 26-13, but half of it came from Harrison Butker, the kicker. So they had a lot to think about over the bye week. We'll discuss that in our keys to victory. Meanwhile, for my San Francisco 49ers, they went up to Seattle on the Thursday night, only on that Jeff Bezos debt pal, as Brock Purdy threw 2 red zone touchdowns. Finally, but he threw them to George Kittle, and running back Isaac Grindo had this big run to kind of essentially seal the victory. And it was further sealed by Kyle Juszczyk scoring a red zone touchdown. And they won a must-win game that they need to have to essentially seal themselves, to keep their season alive at 3-3 and keep their division hopes alive as well. But in the end, they won the game against Seattle, 36-24. But it was kind of close when you thought about it. But nonetheless, they go into this game kind of in the same spot they were 2 years ago. And in every game matters for them. So as I talked about, this is a rematch from Super Bowl 58 and Super Bowl 54 in essence. I guess if you want a history lesson of sorts, the Chiefs overcame a 10-point deficit against the 49ers. And both teams this time, compared to their Super Bowl 54 game, they went the distance into overtime. The Niners actually had a chance to win that game on their first possession, but unfortunately, some offensive line shenanigans was pretty offensive. And then that's when Mahomes and the Chiefs got their crack, and then you know what happened from there. They broke the Niners' hearts yet again. Kyle Shanahan couldn't finish the story, and neither could the rest of the Niners. But that was then. Here we are now. It always pains me to talk about it. So anyway, going into the injury report for both these teams, in contrast to the Niners, which I'll talk about in a bit, the Chiefs, they may be missing 1 or 2 key players on this for this game, like edge rusher Mike Dana. He may be missing this game with a pectoral injury. Receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, who again was key for the Chiefs the last time they played 2 weeks ago. He seemed initially fine in practice, but then on Thursday, he was pretty limited. He was downgraded to limited with a hamstring injury, so he's 50-50 to go. So if he doesn't play, it's going to be a big blow to a very thin receiving core that doesn't have Marquise Hollywood Brown anymore, and now Rashee Rice is out for the season, or at least I think he is, with the leg injury that he suffered a couple weeks ago. Meanwhile, for my 49ers, there's pretty much injuries all across the board. Like, what else is new for this team? Injury Mania 4, running wild. I guess you could say it's like that WrestleMania 4 tournament, running wild all over Santa Clara. So anyway, the replacement kicker for Jake Moody, he also got hurt very late in the Seattle game, where he kind of like Jake Moody, he was forced to take a tackle because our special team sucks ass. So he got his shoulder hurt in that game. He left the game like his shoulder hanging down. But yeah, he left that game, and he wasn't practicing for 2 straight days. We don't know if he's gonna play, but probably not. So that's why they signed another kicker by the name of Anders Carlson. For those that are aware about this guy, he ironically choked against these Niners back in January in the divisional game when he was a member of the Packers. So when he had to make that clutch kick against the Niners with like 5 minutes left to go, yeah, that went wide left. So a little bit of history between these two parties. Meanwhile, you have Juwan Jennings. He may be missing this game with a hip injury. Kyle Shanahan mentioned about how he could be in jeopardy to miss this one. We'll see how Friday's practice go, which will be the determining factor of who's in and who's out. But hopefully Juwan Jennings will be able to go, but not looking good right now. Some other players to note of whether or not they'll play this Sunday. included Deebo Samuel. He was practicing in limited fashion with a wrist injury. So was Jordan Mason with the shoulder injury that he suffered in the Seattle game. And also Malik Mustafa was in practice despite the ankle issue. And keep an eye on those defensive linemen, Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott, with their knee injuries. If you want some positive news for the 49ers, rookie receiver, the one that we drafted in the first round, Ricky Pearsall, he practiced in full for the first time since back in August, where he got shot in the chest. He was a victim of an attempted robbery, and he got shot in the chest. And thankfully, nothing really bad happened to him. So he's doing all and well now. He's back in practice in full. Now, I don't know when they're going to activate him from injured reserve. They opened his practice window, but the fortunate thing is he's back, up and at him, and fully seems to be fully healthy, which is a godsend for him. So now, looking at your keys to victory for both of these teams, for the Kansas City Chiefs, looking at this offense for them, they lost two of their top receivers in Rashee Rice and Marquise Hollywood Brown, who they signed, but now he's gone. He was instantly gone. So their receiver depth is right back to square one last year and the year before, when they won those 2 Super Bowl titles. Like, they seriously need one of their receivers that's not named Xavier Worthy or Travis Kelce to really step up. Like, they really struggled in the last game outside the little bursts that they had with Juju Schuster, especially in the red zone. Like, they really had a hard time scoring in the red zone with their receiving core. That's why Harrison Butker scored the majority of the points. So they need that second and third person to go alongside Xavier Worthy, and I guess to a degree, they need a little bit more consistency from Smith-Schuster, because you know that everyone's going to go after Travis Kelce, and I guess now Xavier Worthy and Smith-Schuster. So they need a viable target. They need someone to be that reliable option for Mahomes, because he can't do it all by himself. And then defensively, make the Niners rushing attack non-existent. The Chiefs have been pretty good against the run, and they can make the Niners offense one-dimensional. Force Brock Purdy to throw all day, every day, make him scramble out of the pocket. Like, he's had a very high tendency to just run all around in circles, trying to find somebody. So if they can severely limit Jordan Mason if he plays, and Isaac Grendo, their production on the ground game, they can make Brock Purdy throw all day long. Meanwhile, for my 49ers, you got to find a way to contain Patrick Mahomes within the pocket. I know that was pretty much a task to do in the Super Bowl, and then obviously it's always a task to limit Mahomes. So you got to find a way to keep his butt in the pocket. And the Chiefs' offensive line, it's middle of the pack. It's attackable, especially if you can get their offensive linemen, make themselves get in their own way with penalties. And not say you should be cheap about it, but it's certainly it's attackable if you put some effort to it, especially from Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd. So they got to get past this Chiefs offensive line and keep Mahomes within the tackle box. Don't let him scramble out of it, and keep him inside. So the other thing that they need to focus on, it's mainly all about defense. We already know what we can see out of the offense with Purdy and the gang. So defensively, it's just pretty much all the keys to victory this week for San Francisco. You got to minimize Mahomes' deep threat in Xavier Worthy and Smith-Schuster if he plays. The secondary, the back end of this defense, it's been pretty suspect to the deep ball, and just in general, like in the passing defense department. So they gotta contain Xavier Worthy. They gotta contain Schuster if he plays, and then of course the other guys in the receiving game of the Chiefs. If Schuster doesn't play, the task becomes slightly kind of easier. I mean, I don't want to underestimate this Chiefs offense, but it's like you never know with Mahomes, because he won 2 back-to-back Super Bowls despite a crappy receiving core. So yeah, you just gotta minimize Mahomes' deep threat. And then another last bonus thing, you gotta protect the run. You gotta stop the run. You really have to stop the run because again, it's really weak. And the one positive for this Chiefs offense is the running game with Pacheco, and then they're gonna eventually rotate with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I believe he's still a factor in this running game, but it's mostly Pacheco that can really hurt the Niners on the ground. So you got to be able to minimize him. So looking at this game, it's going to be a tough one for San Francisco, as it always is against the Chiefs. But it's going to be really tough because, well, a lot of people are hurt in this game. So it's going to be a battle, as it always is with the Chiefs. Hopefully San Francisco will find a way to grind out a victory. And if they're up, if they're leading, especially by 10 points or more, they better hold on to that bitch and keep on scoring. Don't settle for less. Don't be all complacent and like, oh, we got this in the bag, Al. Or don't get unlucky. It's like you did in the damn Super Bowl. It's like, come on, man. It's like, learn your lesson for once. So, yeah. Forget about finishing the story on Sunday. Forget about what happened in the Super Bowl. Forget about revenge on Sunday. If you don't like it, cry about it. Focus on winning this damn game so you can get your season back on track. And then the next week, we can focus on next week after this game. Take it week by week, and then we got the bye week coming up in a couple weeks. For now, let's focus on this game against the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champions in a rematch that, honestly, I really want to forget about that this is a rematch. It's just another game on another Sunday. So let's just get it done, please. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on this upcoming game between my Niners and the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me know your keys to victory for both of these teams, your thoughts on just in general about this game. So who do you think is going to win it? Who's taking it? All that good stuff. But anyway, that is it for this video. Previewing my San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. Until the next one, when I see ya, peace out.